Hi everyone, it's me, AMARIJASZ, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I have a special topic. We're going to be talking about KreayShawn's style analysis. If you're interested, keep watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. More than just a one-hit wonder. She was a cultural moment. In 2011, she dropped Gucci Gucci, and suddenly the internet had a new anti-pop star. The song wasn't just catchy, it was a statement. Gucci Gucci, Louis Louis, Fendi Fendi, Prada. She wasn't flexing brands, she was mocking the obsession with labels and offering a new kind of cool that didn't require a designer price tag. At a time when Tumblr was shaping fashion, music, and identity, KreayShawn fit right in, maybe even led the way. Her style was messy, loud, ironic, and totally her own. Think winged eyeliner, bleached hair with roots showing, oversized gold jewelry, and thrifted clothes layered with a collage of 90s nostalgia and Oakland streetwear. She looked like she stepped out of a DIY Zine and into a YouTube video, which made her instantly stand out in an industry that still hadn't figured out how to handle girls like her. The early 2010s were the blog era, where artists went viral off personality and attitude as much as talent. KreayShawn embodied that energy. She was a rapper, but also a director, a Tumblr girl, a fashion anti-hero. She directed music videos for Lil B and was part of the white girl mob with V Nasty and Lil Debbie. Everything about her felt chaotic in the most calculated way, intentional but unfiltered. Even her voice, high-pitched, almost bratty, was its own aesthetic. She didn't sound like anyone else, and she didn't try to. That confidence resonated with young people online, especially girls who felt alienated by the hyper-polished standards of pop and rap. She gave permission to be weird, to be loud, to wear a leopard print and Mickey Mouse ears at the same time. KreayShawn didn't just ride a wave, she was part of creating it. Tumblr fashion, DIY music videos, the fusion of internet culture with real-world success, she was doing it before it became the norm. Her rise was quick and so was her fade from the mainstream, but her impact can still be felt today. The return of Y2K fashion, the viral TikTok stars who blurred the lines between meme and music, the continued obsession with niche internet fame, it's all part of the world KreayShawn helped build. She didn't have a long career at the top, but she didn't need one. KreayShawn captured a very specific moment in culture and became the face of it, whether she wanted to or not. In doing so, she left behind more than a viral song. She left behind a blueprint, one for being bold, being different, and refusing to shrink yourself to fit into anyone else's expectations. So, when people look back on the era and laugh or feel nostalgic, they might not realize just how much of it she helped define. KreayShawn was a Tumblr era in human form, and for that reason alone, she deserves more credit than she ever got. Signature aesthetic and influences. KreayShawn's style was a wild fusion of West Coast street energy and 90s DIY grit. She wasn't trying to emulate polished mainstream fashion. It was the complete opposite. Her look pulled from the aesthetics of punk and hip-hop, but filtered through her own thrifted, clashing, unapologetic lens. She wasn't wearing brands to flex wealth. She was wearing pieces because they had personality, attitude, or because she found them secondhand and made them work. There was a heavy emphasis on DIY culture in everything she did. It showed up in her videos, in her outfits, and the way she carried herself. It was chaotic, but in a deliberate, layered way, like someone who knows exactly how to break the rules because she never cared about them in the first place. Her clothes looked like they were dug out of a Goodwill bin, a garage sale, or someone's older cousin's bedroom in 1997, and that's what made it iconic. She mixed high and low without ever trying to make it fashionable in the traditional sense. It was instinctive and irreverent. Vintage cartoon tees with fake designer belts, bleached hair with visible roots, skinny jeans, and big chain accessories, it all felt thrown together, but with real identity behind it. Her style spoke to a generation that didn't have access to high fashion, but still wanted to express something bold and individual. Punk influenced her attitude. Anti-authority, anti-perfection, and anti-industry polish, hip-hop influenced her storytelling, her flexes, and her embrace of self-made status. But she never aligned herself fully with either scene because she wasn't trying to fit anywhere. She was carving out something new, this in-between space that made room for people who love clashing aesthetics, irony, nostalgia, and internet weirdness all at once. You couldn't box her in, and that was the whole point. She didn't clean herself up. She didn't clean herself up for interviews. She didn't shift her sound to chart. Everything about her felt like a rebellion against what the music industry and even fashion at that time expected from a young woman stepping into the spotlight. And even now, that influence still lingers in ways people don't always connect back to her. The obsession with secondhand finds, the normalization of mixing luxury with thrifted clothes, the messy, maximalistic layering that shows up in TikTok fashion cycles, it all echoes that KreayShawn was already doing loudly and without permission more than a decade ago. She didn't set out to be a trendsetter, but that's exactly what she became. Her visual language, loud, bratty, clashing, self-made, continues to show up everywhere, whether people name drop her or not. Colors and prints. Her style was a visual overload in the best way. Bright colors, clashing patterns, and cartoon graphics thrown together like a walking collage. She wasn't afraid to be loud, visually, or creatively. That was part of the appeal. She didn't try to match or tone down leopard print, graffiti style jackets, oversized hoodies, glitter, neon. It was all layered, like she raided every corner of a thrift store and dared it to work. She made bold statements, not just in her lyrics, but in what she wore. Giant hoops, chunky gold chains, and oversized sunglasses that covered half of her face. Everything about her look said, "I'm here and I'm not toning it down for you." It was bratty but confident, childlike but defiant. She wasn't trying to be glamorous, but she was trying to be unforgettable. What also made her stand out were her pop culture references, which were everywhere. You see Hello Kitty patches on a jacket, Lisa Frank stickers on her laptop, or a cartoon print tee layered under a fake fur vest. It was playful, but also incredibly intentional. She knew exactly what world she was building, one where nostalgia, irony, and individuality could all live in the same outfit. She leaned into these symbols, stickers, cartoons, early 2000 like armor. They weren't childish, they were cultural shorthand. It was a language her audience understood immediately, especially those growing up in the Tumblr era, where self-expression came with a glitchy filter and a middle finger to mainstream beauty standards. Her fashion was never about perfection, it was about presence. Even if you didn't like it, you couldn't ignore it. And in an era where standing out meant everything, KreayShawn's visual identity became just as influential as her music. Hair and makeup. KreayShawn's hair and beauty looks were just as bold and unfiltered as her outfits. She rocked short and choppy haircuts, often with two-tone undercuts and asymmetrical shapes that felt more punk Zion than pop star. Her hair looked DIY on purpose, bleached, uneven, and full of character. It wasn't about polish, it was about attitude. Her makeup was signature too, heavy black eyeliner, thick and winged, like it was drawn with a Sharpie, paired with bright bold lips, electric pinks, red, sometimes even blues. It created a contrast that felt cartoonish, loud, and totally her. Her playful nail art added another level of detail. Rhinestones, decals, clashing colors, designs that felt like sticker books come to life. She also had her go-to accessories that became part of her visual identity. Headscarves, bandanas, and snapbacks were often thrown over her hair, sometimes all in the same week. It wasn't about sticking to one look. It was about staying unpredictable. You never knew if she'd show up in a leopard print hat, a Looney Tunes tee, and lime green lipsticks, but somehow it all made sense together. She styled herself as someone who had complete creative control, which she did. Her entire look head to toe was curated chaos. It blended thrift stores finds with subcultural references and layered femininity with toughness in a way that felt both playful and confrontational. It said, "I made this look, you don't have to get it." And that mindset is exactly why it resonated so deeply with a generation raised on self-expression, mood boards, and rebellion. Key accessories. KreayShawn's accessories were a key part of her signature style. Loud, oversized, and full of personality. She piled on bold gold chains, and big hoop earrings that swung with every move, not as subtle accents but as centerpieces. They weren't just jewelry, they were statements. She often wore large glasses, sometimes clear frames, sometimes tinted, almost always vintage or thrifted, adding a layer of nerdy, cool irony to her look. It wasn't about sleek designer frames. It was about whatever felt bold, weird, and expressive. Her style was full of gold, flashy, campy accessories, pieces that had humor and drama baked into them. Belt buckles shaped like cartoon characters, dollar sign rings, nameplate necklaces. Everything was exaggerated and over the top in a way that felt fearless. It was camp, but with the edge. These details weren't just decorative, they amplified her attitude. Every accessory added volume to the personality she was already projecting. Playful, confident, and chaotic and clever. It was fashion with the wink, style that didn't take itself too seriously but still demanded attention. Shoes and footwear. On her feet, KreayShawn felt it grounded in street culture. She was often seen in sneakers like Vans, Chuck Taylors, and Jordans, shoes that gave her look an effortless, streetwise energy. They weren't meant to be high fashion. They were familiar, worn in, and deeply tied to West Coast youth culture. What made her style so dynamic was the way she could switch it up. She'd occasionally throw on chunky heels or platform boots, adding just enough height and drama to shift the energy. It was never predictable. The sneakers kept things casual, raw, and connected to skate, punk, and hip-hop scenes, while the heels or boots gave that unexpected kick of edge and rebellion. The mix said everything she wasn't dressing to impress the industry, she was dressing to express a whole mood, one built on contrast, confidence, and not caring what anyone thought. The evolution of her style. Career, KreayShawn's style was at its rawest, hyper DIY, clashing and chaotic in a way that felt completely authentic to her internet-raised, Oakland-rooted identity. She layered thrifted cartoon tees with gold chains, mixed leopard print with Hello Kitty, and wore snapbacks and sneakers like armor. Her makeup was bold, her hair was wild, and everything about her presentation felt like a Tumblr dashboard exploded in real life. As her fame spiked around 2011-2012, she didn't clean up her look for the mainstream. Even at award shows or major press events, she kept her style consistent. Still loud, still playful, still unapologetically mismatched. She never leaned into the polished pop star makeover the industry often expects. If anything, she doubled down on what made her stand out. Oversized accessories, streetwear staples, and bratty punk meets princess energy that refused to be tamed. Later in her career, after their initial hype faded, there was a slight shift. Her looks became a bit more toned down, not necessarily mainstream, but more relaxed, like someone who had less to prove but still carried the same DNA in her style. The cartoon chaos gave way to more focused statements, but she always kept the thrift store spirit and playful irony. Even if the visual overload wasn't turned up to 10 anymore, you could still feel the same KreayShawn underneath. Anti-glam, pro-personality, and rooted in street-level fashion. Her impact on early 2010s fashion, especially Tumblr aesthetics and streetwear trends, is undeniable. She was one of the first public figures to fully embody that internet girl look before it became a brand. The layering, the irony, the mix of lowbrow pop culture with street references, KreayShawn was doing that before it became the mood board standard. She helped define that weird but iconic space between edgy, memey, nostalgic, and fly. But can you see her influence in artists, celebs who came up after her? Rappers like Doja Cat and Rico Nasty have clearly pulled from that chaotic, cute, bratty, bold aesthetic. Even pop stars like Charli XCX during her True Romance era, or Billie Eilish in her early oversized streetwear moments reflect a similar spirit. Playful, bold, refusing the glam mold. In the world of streetwear, you would argue that KreayShawn helped pave the way for more feminine expression within spaces that had been dominated by masculine tones. The idea that a girl could wear Jordans, a Care Bears tee, gold chains, and neon nails and not only pull it off, but own it, was radical at the time. And now it's just part of the style lexicon. Cultural impact and legacy. KreayShawn's visual style became just as iconic as her music, if not more. Gucci might have introduced her to the world, but was the look that made people stop and stare. Her outfits were bold, arrogant, and instantly recognizable. She could see one blurry photo of her in a leopard jacket, big hoops, cartoon tee, wing liner, and a two-tone hair and immediately know who it was. She built a visual identity so strong that it stood on its own, whether or not the music was playing. At a time when most female rappers were still expected to be hyper feminine, polished, and sexy in a very narrow way, KreayShawn completely broke that mold. She didn't wear bodycon dresses or stilettos. She didn't glam up to appeal to the industry's beauty standards. Instead, she came through in snapbacks, thrifted streetwear, clashing patterns, and gold chains, giving early 90s attitude with the 2010s internet flair. It was punk. It was bratty, it was anti-glam, and it forced people to rethink what a female rapper could look like. Her style made sense for alternative femininity in hip-hop. She wasn't just trying to be the bad bitch in the conventional sense. She was the weird girl, the art school dropout, the girl on Tumblr making fun of celebrities in one tab while editing selfies in another. She made it okay to not fit into the industry's fantasy and still be seen. That shook things up. Now with the return of Y2K and early 2010s fashion, KreayShawn's style fits perfectly into the current moment. Everything she did, chunky accessories, nostalgia cartoons, layered streetwear, DIY hair, mismatched colors, loud makeup, ironic graphics, is all back. The fashion cycle has caught up to her. You see her influence in TikTok fashion creators and Instagram mood boards and current artists who blurred the lines between meme, music, and fashion. If KreayShawn stepped out into the scene today wearing exactly what she wore in 2011, she wouldn't look dated. She'd look ahead of the curve, all over again. Her style didn't just define a moment, it predicted a return. KreayShawn's style is a bold statement about self-expression and breaking the rules. It says loud and clear that fashion doesn't have to fit into neat boxes or follow anyone else's expectations, especially not the industry's. She showed that you can mix clashing patterns, wear cartoon graphics with gold chains, and pair thrifted finds with flashy accessories, and it doesn't have to make sense by traditional standards. Her look was a rebellion against polished perfection, a middle finger to the idea that female rappers had to look a certain way to be taken seriously or successful. Instead, she embraced chaos, imperfection, and individuality. Her style said, "I'm not here to conform or to be pretty for you. I'm here to be me, loud, and unapologetic." By owning her unique aesthetic, KreayShawn encouraged a generation to rethink what beauty and coolness could mean. It's a celebration of freedom to be messy, to be bold, to be funny, and wear your personality on your sleeve without apology. Her style wasn't just clothes and makeup. It was an act of empowerment and a challenge to anyone trying to box her in. And that was my take on KreayShawn's style. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and I'll see you in my next one.